Hey friends, welcome to this week's video. I'm not exactly sure how to classify this. It's kind of a review, but not really. It's kind of a first impressions, but not really. But what it really is me trying to figure out a large purchase and me telling you my thought train behind it. Because it's not as simple as just picking the best or picking the most budget friendly. It is kind of somewhere in the middle, and different levers are being, pulled in my brain that trend me towards the two lenses that I'm considering right now. But if we talk about it, it's really just because before, when I was first shooting, I had a crop sensor A6000 and I shot predominantly on Sigma lenses and Sigma primes to be specific. So those primes were awesome because they were small, light, I could carry them around anywhere, and it was make it really easy for me to bring them on vacation or shoot things around the city with my friends without, being too annoying to everyone else or too obvious that there's a giant camera there. And so it's kind of cool. But the only problem is that in my dumbness as a beginning photographer, I always thought I would have to switch lenses because I wanted to get the perfect focal length, or I didn't know which lens to bring. It's like, what about that scenario? And I would just freak out. So then I would just end up bringing every single one of my every single one of my primes with me. So then it kind of defeated the purpose of having a compact kit that's easy to carry. So eventually I kind of convinced myself to get out of that mindset that primes are perfect and primes are more sharp, and so I decided to get a zoom lens for convenience. But at the same time, I switched out of a crop sensor to a full frame, so I have an A7 III right now that I'm shooting this one at, which ended up being my new body for my new zoom lens. And the zoom lens that I got was an f4, that was at 24 to 105 from Sony, and that was kind of what dominated my workflow just because of its convenience. However, because I was so in love with primes, I did pick up one prime, and that's the Nifty 50 from Sony, and it's $300-400. It wasn't terribly expensive, and it got me out of the gate. But I think because of a lot of the convenience of the f4 and just some other things about it, I didn't see that much benefit of the 50 after a while, and it just ended up kind of just collecting dust on my shelf. So I don't know why I initially got rid of it, but I did pick it up recently again to shoot with because I've been trying to get better at shooting at dark or at dusk or in dark, and also with like neon lights and external light sources. And that's because I've been watching a lot of Brandon Wolfel, and he's amazing with that sort of style, and I wanted to get better at it. So this was my lowest aperture lens, or this is my lens that could open up the most. So this is the reason why I was trying to shoot with it more. However, when I was taking shots with it, I was just very not impressed with the color rendition, as well as it was sharp, but it was also just very hard to focus. So I ended up doing manual, which is not a big problem. I shoot manual focus a lot, but it's just like this was super loud. So if I was doing B-roll, no problem. But if I'm shooting something and I'm trying to use the onboard mic just for like ambient sound, or I just don't have a mic set up on me, I do use the onboard, and this was a little bit inconvenient because it was so loud. This is like one of the loudest mics I have, and it's annoying. It's absolutely annoying. It's just not something that I think I can maintain, so that's why I was trying to go down this path of, let me get a new 50. So I guess the criteria I'm looking at with these 50s are price, obviously, manual operation, was it color rendition, and then size and weight. So those are the major categories that I'm looking in while I'm trying to consider different options. So I think as it comes to price, I want to make it around $800 to $1,000, just because I think that's where my skills reside. Like, I think going for a $2,000 lens could get me something perfect, but I don't think I'm good enough to bring up the potential of that yet. I think there's a long time for me to get to that crispness and that understanding of photography for me to justify that, because there's a wonderful 50mm lens that just came out with Sony. It's a 1.2 autofocus, it has in body, I believe, so it's like has everything you need, but it's $2,000 or $2,100. I don't think I can spend that especially when I think about where my skill set is. But that also falls into the sort of manual operation. So I think I can get away with a manual lens right now, just because I'm shooting a lot of manual focus stuff anyway. I'm just having some, some shooting scenarios where I just need to have that control, and I can't rely on the autofocus of the camera or the lens to seek it or find it in the right times or at the right timing of when I need it. So being able to lock in focus manually and shift it with my hand, I've just been doing a lot. So I think I can get away with a classic manual focus lens. This also saves me money, because these lenses at $800 to $1,000 will not have in-body stabilization. And I can see like how that might get in the way, especially if a longer lens. So like, my Tamron's really big, doesn't have optical image stabilization. I still get away with it pretty well, especially if I'm shooting a video. Same thing with the Sigma that I'm shooting this on. So I'm hoping I can get away with that. But if I wanted to spend $2,000, obviously I could get image stabilization, but at $1,000, I don't think I can get that. I don't think so, at least. And that's the reason why it's so cheap, is because it doesn't have that sort of stuff. And then it sort of gets into the color rendition and styling of it. Because that Sony was kind of very bland and very, boring, I wanted something that would have a little bit more contrast and also like have a little bit more flavor to it. Just makes the picture look a little bit more 3D, and just have a little bit more emotion behind it. So I'm looking for a little bit artsiness to it, whether that be in the bokeh, whether that be in the contrast, whether that be in how it blends together. I just want something that helps along with that artistic vision, and so I can go with something that's not statistically good or technically great, so that I can get sort of a little bit more creative feel on that image. And that kind of goes down into why I'm not picking a lens like Sigma, because Sigma has a great 1.4 50mm lens, which has has autofocus and things like that. However, it is a little bit big, and that kind of gets into my last category in size and weight. The reason why I loved having that crop sensor with those Sigmas before is because they were so small. They were like little baby lenses that I could just like go anywhere around. No one really knew I was taking pictures, and I could get a lot more natural photography from that, because it wasn't like this big, like intimidating thing that I'm whipping out of my bag. So like the problem is that the Sigmas, that Sigma Prime is the same size as like this Tamron or the Sigma that I'm shooting on right now. They're just big lenses. They're big, heavy lenses that don't lighten my load or look any less intimidating to people that I'm shooting. So that's another reason why I'm going for something smaller. So again, the lens I'm getting is probably not the best 50 prime out there, but it has characteristics that hit the different criteria that I'm looking for. So the two that I've really narrowed it down to are kind of hipster lenses, or at least how I'm seeing as hipster lenses, because they're not a Zeiss, they're not a Sony, they're not a Tamron, they're not a Sigma. I've never heard of this brand before I started doing this search, but Voigtlander has been around for a while, and I think people really like them because they're like super solid. They're like all metal construction, everything, all the sliders all the rings are operated very smoothly, both on the aperture and the zoom. And they also have an option of using this mechanical ring to switch between clicky and non-clicky aperture rings. So whether you're shooting a video or you want that haptic feedback, you can swap between the two, and it's pretty nice. People also really like the color rendition of Voigtlanders. They seem to like the contrast and the color replication, and it's very pleasant. It has a nice pop to it, and yeah, I think for both these lenses and in general for Voigtlander, people really appreciate the sort of look and feel of it. The reason why I'm kind of trending towards these two, and obviously not trying to like look at other sizes, is because these two lenses technically are better from a aperture blade perspective than the other, like the 85 or the 35. So these have, I think, 2 more aperture blades than the 35 and the 85. So that's the reason why they're more head-to-head. For the Nocton, obviously, we are looking at a wider aperture, a 1.2 a spherical lens, and this is going to be really good for that sort of nighttime shooting, because I won't have any issues trying to get enough light in because it's super wide. The thing that I'm gonna have to focus on with this one is just how sharp it'll be. Generally with the 1.2s that I've seen on other cameras or from my friend's shots is that they kind of get a little bit soft. So I need to see how sharp it is in the center. Obviously I'm not expecting edge to edge sharpness. I am, especially open at 1.2, I'm just trying to see if that center is sharp and how forgiving that field of view is, or that range of focus is when I'm actually using it in practice. But the other reason why people really like the Knockdown 1.2 is because that bokeh is beautiful. It is very, very creamy. It has some swirl in it, but it's just very characteristic. It has like a dreamy vibe to it. So wide open, things just look very nicely blended, and I think people like that. It's more than just blurring. It's like there's like a fog or some kind of smoke behind or in front of the subject to give it a little that sort of dreamy allure. So that's why the 1.2 is really good. However, people do complain that it's not very flare resistant. It has chromatic aberrations, which again, you can fix that in post, but if you're trying to just shoot stuff right out of the gate, there's some correction that needs to be done. So that's the reason why Voigtlander has a better sort of standard series called the Apple-Lanther, which is supposed to be their better glass, as well as their it's supposed to just be their better product. So it resists flares a little bit better. It resists against chromatic aberrations, supposedly. I want to see if that works. But it's just supposed to be an overall better product. I will tell you that it's lighter than the 1.2, so obviously that'll help with my portability. As well as it comes with a couple of different lens hoods, so I can actually keep the hood on and cap it. It's not a really big issue, but basically the Voigtlanders are these metal, like the hoods are metal, and they're very small, and they're just used to be on. They're not used to be storage, so if you want to take it off, you need to store it in your bag. Like my Nifty 50, and most of my lenses, like actually all of my lenses, if you want to use it, you can easily throw it on there. However, if you want to not use it, you can hide it on itself, and it's just all in a nice little package. You don't have to worry about carrying it in your bag. But Voigtlander has opted to not do that, so you have to kind of play around with your hoods and see what's going on. But the Apple-Lanther has a slightly better system, just because it gives you a couple different hoods that allows you to cap it. What else about the Apple-Lanther? Sharpness apparently is much better on this one. We'll have to see. But again, it doesn't open up as wide as this one. So the Knockdown has the advantage because it's 1.2 versus an f2. F2 is still better than all the other lenses that I have, so I should get better performance regardless. However, I'm gonna have to see if that extra 0.8 is gonna matter to me, or if the 1.2 is annoying to get focus. But there's gonna be some considerations because they are different abilities in terms of aperture. The other thing to notice about this one is that I think it guarantees round bokeh balls at 2 and up to 2.8. So with the Voigtlander, apparently it gets kind of boxy at 0.2, or sorry, at f2, or you start seeing the aperture blades. But the Apple-Lanther, I think up to 2.8, you can still see the roundness of the balls, and it won't start polygoning out until like 3 or something like that. So that's something else to notice. I'm gonna have to say, that's when I'm gonna judge the bokeh and to see what characteristics of them work the best. Probably won't be as creamy on this one, but maybe it'll be a little bit more pleasant if there's those sort of light sources in there. But yeah, that's basically the reasons why I picked this one. These lenses are very similarly priced at $1,000 about, and they're gonna have that punchy look and feel potentially. Again, they're manual operation. I'm not breaking the bank on these completely. They're still expensive, don't get me wrong, but they're not as bad as like some of the Grandmaster lenses out there. But yeah, it'll be fun. I think this will be cool because I think these are going to challenge my photography a little bit because they are manual operation and they're more classically built. But yeah, I just couldn't find a really good comparison. So I would have done this without this video and without this activity. However, I've seen a lot of reviews on this one, I've seen a lot of reviews on this one, but they're never really compared head to head. So
fine, I'll do it myself.
And there are some comparisons out there, which I'll put some links in there for you guys to see, but I'm gonna have to do my own, just because I couldn't get a sense of it. So I figured this would be a good time for that. Anyway, thank you guys for hearing me rant for, what are we at, 14 minutes right now. So I'm gonna try to wrap this up, but this is gonna be a fun exercise for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. Please let me know what you're thinking about the content recently. I know I've been switching up a lot, and it's not just always reviews, but we do have some things coming up, like what is it? Oh, we have some headsets coming up. We do have a pair of earbuds from Technics coming up. We got a camera bag. What was the other one? Oh, we have a microphone from Tula. There's a few different things coming up. So hope you guys stay around for those ones. Again, if you are new here, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, do all the things that you normally do on a video that you like and love. And if you're returning, please give me any of your suggestions about what we can do to make these videos better, things you want to see in terms of reviews or content. And yeah, I'll try to get to them as soon as possible and really, make sure that this community is continually growing. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Appreciate the time that you guys have been watching my videos, and glad that you're part of this whole crew. We're doing really, really well on the growth front, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me. But I think that's all I have to say about this video. Appreciate you guys sticking out with me, and I will see you next week, if not sooner. Appreciate ya.